check, 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 check. Da dee dee. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da dee da da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee. Oh ee oh ee ah oh cha tu tu dee. Ah 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 ah. Oh ee oh eh la. Check check 1 2 check check 1 2. Yeah, check, 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 1 2, check, hey, 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 oh, hey, hey, ole.
Well, hello, kids. How's everybody doing? Early July, weather's beautiful. It's been a while since I did a video. Busy, so busy here. Even though I'm retired, I'm always doing stuff. We have updates. A few updates. Okay, first, yes, I am flooding my social media pages with music from the Flat Stanley Inc. project. Long overdue. These, for those who have asked and are curious, are song ideas created and finished by my friend Tony Kajnar and myself, for the most part, of song ideas that came throughout a 20-year span, give or take a year. Flat Stanley was a band of mine that I started years ago, 20 plus years ago. It was originally a band called Frequency with Jim O'Leary, Steve Cardiff, and myself. We were a trio. And we used sequencing and stuff like that. And we had a good run with it. We merged the flats into the Flat Stanley name. Jim was always wanting to change band names, always. He was never happy with one thing. So we changed the name to Flat Stanley, changed music directions a bit, and we did some recording. We recorded 3 original songs. One is Can You Hear Me, which a lot of people enjoyed back then, but it was done crudely and not very well, we'll say. But it was a starting point. I've always been into originals, and I kept trying to get everybody into originals. That didn't always work because not everybody likes to do originals or write originals or record them. It's a long process, a lot of work. Not everybody's into that. They just want to be in music to have fun. I get it. So as we merged along, we wrote those 3 songs. There's probably Can You Hear Me is the one most people remember, but there's 2 others. One was a ballad, and another one that I am presently redoing. That was never, even though we played it live, was never fully completed for a recording session. So 2 of them got recorded in our basement studio, a little more vague than the one I have. And then this one song that never did see the light of day, which it will soon. The bass player ended up leaving. To replace him, we picked up another guitar player, and that's Tony Kajnar, and we picked up another bass player. We did a bunch of cover songs and played quite a bit back 20 years ago. But I was always pushing for original material because I was always writing through that process, but I was also still learning how to play other instruments. like guitar and piano and stuff. So my songwriting, you know, was could only go as far as my playing. I tried to get the band to get into original songs and helping me finish these, but they at the time had no interest, which is a thing drummers seem to always go through, needless to say. So, but I managed to hound the living shit out of these guys to, like, let's just jam and come up with ideas. So what I did is I would record all our band practices. I recorded them all. And then what I would do is I would trim off the fat. So I would trim things off the recordings. Hours and hours I would do this. Well, they were on cassettes and all different media, CD recording, all this, computer recording. I did it all just to try and get some ideas. And while the band did complete a couple of the originals, they were very crude, but we did play them live. Some of them we did play live. But to get these guys to record just wasn't in their DNA. They just weren't into it. Tony definitely was into it like me. The other two guys were not. So when I finally did get them to, well, let's do at least a couple to try and work on, we started on crude gear, a Mackie 16-channel mixer, Mackie 1604 mixer. Drum tracks were 2 tracks, left and right stereo. I would get the drum mix as good as I could just from listening to it, and I would record the drum tracks. So the drum tracks, even though they were pretty good drum tracks, playing-wise, they were still 2-channel stereo, kind of like the old days. So no individual tracks for any of the drum parts, like the toms or the snare or the kick. There was none of that. So this is where I try and tell people that this 20-year thing is an evolution of the music we create, or Tony and I created, but also in the technology department, the evolution of what we were using, from the crudest Pentium 120s, Mackie board going directly in that through a Sound Blaster card. We all have done this. I just kept plugging at it and going and going. So as the song ideas might be only a 30-second thing, Tony and I took a lot of these ideas, added parts to them, wrote the lyrics, carried things on, and finished these songs. Some of the stuff is Tony and I, just our own ideas that we developed over the years. And the odd ones are ideas of mine that were thrown into the pot. Unfortunately, Jim, the guitar player, singer, and the bass player, Mark Brando, they had personal issues in their own lives, and they vanished from the band. It wasn't long after we started doing these originals that I was hoping for that they parted ways. Their own lives were in a process that was not good, and that's where they had to focus, and the band was no more. Where Jim left, we knew he left, that the bass player just disappeared and never to return. But we found out later it wasn't related to the band. He was having issues himself. That being said, a lot of people have asked about that, and it's like, well, the truth is, I have all the documented recordings of these songs. They're rough stages, 15 to 30 seconds of something, and any partial lyrics we had started, back then. They were all documented by myself and Tony. And it was the task no others wanted. It was quite an annoying process, because I had literally started with cassettes, so I had hundreds of cassettes to go through to find these snippets, then transfer them to digital, date them, and as you can imagine, my life was pretty much locked away in this basement. If I ever wanted to see something of original music be completed. Tony was great. He's a great documenter, so he was good at writing charts out, not charts, but archived lists in case there was an idea that sounded similar to another idea that we did a year earlier, because there's no use repeating the idea and just renaming it something else, because you get confused that way. So he took the time to, after all my edits of audio, he took the time to sit down and go, okay, well, this one sounds like this one. They're basically the same songs with two different titles, so let's just merge that into a single title, scrap the other title. And that's what we did. And if you think I'm full of shit, look at this. This is basically 100 folders. I'm going to try and hold it steady. Here's 100 folders. So, and then within these are documented sections. There might be a song that sounds similar, so that was put in this folder also. Okay, look at that. So 110 folders and more, plus a scrap heap. Plus a scrap heap of stuff that's might be throwaway, or we couldn't find a spot where we wanted to put it. Now, the bottom line is, Tony and I are the ones doing all the mechanics here. We did all the heavy liftings. A lot of this stuff were just partial jams that were nothings. I'm the one that listened to them going, I want to make something out of that. Have some fun with it. Presented it to Tony. I added, cut pieces together or whatever, and we worked at it for years. So, if you think that's easy, you're crazy. Because Tony and I would take the smallest of ideas and turn it into something drastically different, and we finally complete a lot of the stuff. Out of these folders, I believe we have 25 songs complete. Over the years, I've asked singers to try and help us out. And I've said in other videos, these singers would say yes and then just vanish and never do things. And then they come years later and asking my help for something. It's like, why the fuck will I help you when you didn't help me? I like this trade-off thing. I will do anything for someone. Let's return favors. That's how the music industry used to be. Now it's all me, me, me. I like to do a trade-off. Scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Simple concept. So, after years of being trapped in this basement, going through multiple types of gear increases in technology, I'm finally releasing the stuff. I had wanted to do a CD, but judging how the attention spans have shrunk, trying to get people to find a CD that I put out with my friend Tony, it just sounded like it was never going to happen. They can barely find the stuff on the internet. So I've been releasing the stuff for free, putting a little creative video, lyric video, along with some pictures and stuff and some animations, because I'm a graphic art designer, coming up with graphic ideas to suit each song. So I released the 8th song today on Facebook and YouTube. just to garner some ears to listen. You don't have to buy it. It's in video form. You can just watch it, listen to it, and share it. It doesn't cost you anything but 4 minutes, maybe 5 to 6 minutes of your time. And unfortunately, I can't even get that. But I do not give up. I never do. People know that. I will just keep trying. So the songs, the problem I have, and people don't understand, is these songs were recorded and finished starting on early software and hardware devices, moved into a more modern age with digital transfers and analog to digital things. The sound is drastically different from the early recordings to the late. There's no way around that. It's almost impossible to make it sound like it was recorded at one session. People don't understand that. So they are as best as I can muster with the gear I had at the time. I didn't even have overhead microphones on my cymbals. And then as you progress and you spend more money, you try and find microphones to help you on your journey. So some of the problems we've run into over the years is recording acoustic guitars and recording cymbals. And they are not always pleasant on these recordings. And once they are recorded badly, it is hard to polish a turd, for the lack of a better term. And you are stuck with what you have. Could I redo all these songs and redo them on the new modern technology? Of course. But it's been 20 years. We don't play these songs every day. We played them for the moment, at the moment in time. So we might play them better. We might play them worse. We might forget how to play them in the right feel. Musicians' feel and DNA evolve through the years. Your speeds change. Your feels change. Your tastes change. It's hard to go back and redo something and hope it's better. We did do that on a song called Can You Hear Me, which I released the other day. We recorded that back in the day. A friend did it for us for nothing, and we just had fun with it. But I always wanted that song to be redone better. We changed the key. We brought it lower. Excuse me. And I had a friend, Andrew Switzer, sing on it. And he did a great job on it. Sadly, he ended up passing away not long after that recording. So that one has actually sat in its second version since before 2021. So just before the COVID thing started. So he finally finished the vocal and then sadly passed away. And I just released a song. So it's very hard to get all this stuff organized and finished. And then my partner Tony, he got involved in other bands and other things in life. So we did finish musically all the parts we were going to do out of the 25 songs, except for maybe the odd little thing. So I did all the grunt work for the last 6 years to get these things done, which means mixing, editing, chopping all the wave files, getting it all placed nice, adding some vocals, adding guitar parts. I might have changed a couple of things other than that. Tony's parts were all done. All his vocal parts were in, but some of the vocal parts I had to alter a smidge. Or take an older track and of vocals and maybe take a verse out of one take and use it with a third take. There's a lot of that jumbling around to make the songs complete. So that's where we're at. So If you think I'm not doing music, you're crazy. I've been locked into this stuff night and day. Just because I'm not playing live on stage doesn't mean I am not working at music. With all that Flat Stanley Incorporated stuff going on, I am also working on 100 plus originals of my own, and I've posted a bunch of videos with segments of those 100 something songs. So you can find them on my YouTube channel or Facebook to get a taste of what I'm doing there. So that's even more difficult because I'm playing all the instruments and singing all the vocals. So I have to create all these parts. So in the case of the Flat Stanley stuff, some of the jam ideas might just be a single guitar. And so Tony or myself would take that single guitar part and add a second or third guitar part. So there's a family of 3 parts blending together, complementing each other, and just adding to the song to build it up and fill it out a bit. Some of the lyrics were done crudely at the start. We would sit around, kind of like what I'm doing right now. We'd sit around the computer and I would type and people would rhyme off ideas and we would do a few lyric exchange like that. Sometimes a person like the bass player wrote one song, which we're going to release soon. Again, recorded early on in all this process on an old recording computer and with the Mackie, and the interface was older, and so we're releasing it anyways, and we had a guest singer on it. So he did the lyrical writing on that one. We altered some of it to make it fit a little bit better with what we were playing. And the same goes with Jim. He wrote some stuff, brought it to it. But all the stuff ends up getting changed and altered depending on the music we put behind it. Tony and I did most of the songwriting, and a lot of the music ideas are some of mine from the past, some of Tony's that he came up with on the fly, and some I came up with. And there's only a couple of recordings with the original singer Jim. We have nothing left with any other people that were in the band in previous lineups. All the parts were redone, if there were any, or created new. So for the most part, Tony does all the heavy lifting on the guitars. For lead playing, he does it all. I do guitar picking stuff. And the recent one I just put up, just came up with a tail end guitar picking part that was never in the song before, and I just recorded it quick the other night. It just came into my head while I was doing the mix. I go, that's got to have something there. I wanted to experiment. Okay, I want to add this. Forgot to add it. I get people always commenting on the recording quality of the songs that I release. Some are good, some are bad, some are in between. I'm going to explain why musicians go through hell with this. Especially us basement dwellers that do all this stuff ourselves. Like I mentioned in the video, we have an evolution of gear. That makes the songs that I'm releasing from years ago up to modern day sound totally different from each other. But here's the part most people don't understand. In my case, I record analog and converts to digital. I used to run 3 sets of speakers. I just run 2 sets of speakers. Drastically different sounding speakers. So you get a happy medium between the two. Most musicians go through that and do the same thing, or they have more speaker systems. So for my onboard computer and mixer, It's a mixer. All the mics go into here, into this unit, converted to digital. These are the speakers. I recently upgraded these. These are in many studios around the world. But anyways, I upgraded these. These have been wonderful. I also have giant speakers down here. They are connected to the stereo way at the end of the room. There's also 2 tiny speakers on there. That stereo unit runs 4 speakers, 2 pair. So what we try and do is run this through that to get the feel of the mixes. So they're presentable, at least on these 4 systems. Then, that's for the raw main mix. Then I have another computer upstairs that I use strictly for mastering with a totally different set of speakers. Then we'll run it into the stereo system. Then we take a zip drive or a thumb drive, go out into the vehicle and try it into the stereo in the car. What I don't have, which is the most modern technology on the planet right now, I don't have a cell phone. I have no interest in mixing for a cell phone. No interest whatsoever. So I have no clue what that sounds like on a cell phone. And you might think, well, you're cutting your own throat by doing that. That's probably right. That's probably a correct thing to say. But how much time in my life do you think I have? To keep going back and forth between all these speaker systems and trying to find the happy medium takes hours, weeks, days, years. I don't have that. I am here for the song, to write the song. It's always been about the song. I love doing sound, but my priority is not being a sound engineer. I do sound for my bands live to get by, and I tweak accordingly as we play from gig to gig. And the new mixers now are computerized, so they memorize your mixes from the past gigs. That's a nice thing. I like that. But come on, kids. After a time, it's just going to release it. You know why? Because there are so many critics and bitchy people, myself included, that you have to put up a wall and just say, I'm releasing this, it's time to move on. Some of the songs are older, they're never going to be what the new stuff can do. You have to live with it. So that's a scoop. When you put these things online after, here's if people don't understand either. Each computer system can alter the sound depending on the software. But now we have to put it online for all you folks to listen to. As soon as I take a song and post it on any outlet, they are filtered. The music is filtered. YouTube, Facebook, all these things, they filter. I present my original material on these 2 platforms, Facebook and YouTube, in video form. So the song recording is now going into video software that alters the audio also. So what happens is it starts to dumb down a lot of the presence and vibrant clarity. Each time it passes through something that has its own effect system on the video and audio. So if I'm using Sony Vegas, a video graphic program, it actually affects the audio. You try and go a flat signal and just keep it the way it is, it still by default has it built in. You can't change that, or you have to slightly remix it for every video. It means you're mixing this thing away from what originally was done on this board. People think you're just a bad suck-ass engineer half the time, but it's these fences are, you got to jump to get through these. It's just crazy. So now once I get my video, it's now altered again sound. Then I put it up onto YouTube. Then they go, well, you get some altering things here. High definition. I put it all to high definition for the default setting, and it keeps going down because those platforms are shitty. They just like to screw around with your brain. So yeah, so if you go on to watch these videos on YouTube, they have an option. You can go through the different levels of clarity or quality. So always go with high definition because that's how I record the videos or create the videos. Facebook, no, you don't have that option. And I know it dulls down the clarity and the high ends. And I can't keep overcompensating for it in the mix just for Facebook. Because then you're going to take it to another platform and your ears are going to bleed. So this is where we're at. It's a very confusing time. When the Beatles were making their music, we had vinyl. And we had like 8-track, reel to reel. 3 formats. Now there are so many formats and platforms for music. But even radio used to compress. So you're already compressing your music now, and then it gets compressed more. Compression, too much compression is not good, especially in the high end. And I find that's what happens. Every time I load something up, it either gets dulled down or it becomes too brittle sounding. It sounds fine down here. It sounds fine on my mastering. But when I go and put it online, it's drastically altered again. There's so many things to releasing music and keeping your sanity that you have to go through. Anyways, that's just a little part I wanted to state. So these songs, that's it. That's as far as they're going. I've worked my ass off on these for years and years. Compared to the original stuff, recordings that we had, they have improved. Are they world-class recordings? No, because this is my basement. This is a basement. And I'm using a board that's, I don't know, probably 20 years old. Probably a little older. It's a great board, though. It's a beautiful board. So that's what it is. All that work. So that's what I've been doing. That's why I've not been out to see bands. That's why when I'm focused, I cannot leave that track of thought. People get pissed off because I don't go out and see their bands. I understand that totally. But the unfortunate part is writing music and recording it and making it whole doesn't pay the bills, okay? It's only until you release it that it starts to have legs and hopefully build momentum and hopefully maybe make a few dollars. But people have to understand that music is my income also. So while I'm not live playing, I am using my music abilities to make money another way. So, that being said, that's what all the Flat Stanley stuff is about. It might be overwhelming and it's like, oh, here we go again, he's releasing more crap. That's fine if you think like that, but while I support musicians in watching all their videos, when I only have time to do this, I am hoping the trade-off is that they listen to my music and Tony's music under the Flat Stanley thing or my own solo stuff and listen to it, like it, and send it along its way. There's nothing to hitting a share button. It doesn't hurt you at all. It doesn't cost you a cent. I do watch all these bands' videos, enjoy most of them. There's lots of new bands coming up in the Sioux. The sad part is, I am not, and venues are going to hate this, I am not a fan of single night bookings. I'm sorry. When you have a bar scene, 2 nights, same band, it helps the band get better. Working 2 nights together, I always found that a single night is moving the gear. Your hands are all wrecked for moving gear. You do the gig and your hands get wrecked again, moving the gear out at the end of the night. Have a little bit of leniency for these bands. Give them 2 nights. Let them build their sound, their tightness. You'll be surprised at how much 2 nights, even 3, will help a band advance. And it'll only work in your benefit bars and venues, because I understand, like, you want variety, but that's a lot of work. And I'll be honest, if the bars gave that chance, they would notice the difference. And if they don't, then you know for sure that you don't want that band again. But for me, for the amount of gear that I have as a drummer, and since I own the PA and stuff, it's pretty hard to get me out of the basement for a single night for $100 a head. Gas, the setup, the playing, then the teardown, then I have to load it back in my garage or in my house. Not counting all the rehearsal to learn the songs. Yeah, $100 for a single night. That doesn't cut it with me. Sorry. And that's probably why basement life suits me right now. So that's the scoop on all the updates for the Flat Stanley stuff. My original stuff, yes, I'm still working on it. I'm writing lyrics. I'm shopping some of the stuff around as instrumental stuff for videos, for other people's projects. I'm doing all that stuff. There's never a dull moment in Glen's house. So anybody thinks that I've just given up music and have gone into grieving, not happening. We don't do that. We move forward. We find other ways to go. Well, with that said, I've had a few band offers. I think it was 4 or 5 of them already in the last little while. Sorry to say, I turned them all down. I want something different. I want something a little more not what everybody's doing. And I'm not talking original material. I've got enough original material projects right now to suit me the rest of my life. But that said, though, I am strictly looking for something fun, different for a live act. I do not want to be doing the same old stuff that every band is doing. We all fall into that same old rut, and there's nothing fresh and exciting. It's like it needs some changes. So the bands I turned down, while are good musicians and stuff like that, the music direction is just not where I want it to go. So I would say I'm very blunt. I just say no, I don't want to do that, but you guys have fun with it. I just want something fresh, different, and more exciting, challenging for one. And there's nothing wrong with the bands playing the stuff out there right now. I've watched their videos, lots of good bands out there. But they're all playing the same songs. There's a million songs out there. Why are you playing all the same songs? Every week, it's the same band, same songs. Come on. Never used to be like that. Lots of original sounding bands, even original sounding cover bands. I know that sounds what's the term? It doesn't sound right, right? Contradictive. But there are lots of cover songs, millions of them. You can make your band sound so different just by picking the right kind of tunes. You know, it's when you get a band together, it's not so much about let's just throw this together and get on stage. I agree with that. Best practice is being on stage. But throw a little bit of thought into the music. You know? So, yeah, so I turned those bands down. It's not like I've not had offers. I've done a lot of these tunes and played them to death. I just want something fresh. And thus, I don't get the jobs because that's not what I want to do. I've had offers to do fill-ins. I am very, very, very picky about doing fill-ins lately. I don't want to revisit turmoil of my past two bands. I don't want to go down that road. I want to find a fill-in that's fun and happy and, you know, that'll put a little coin in my pocket, making me smile while I'm playing and getting off the stage. And that's what I want. I do not want turmoil. So I've been offered a few road gigs from a bunch of bands. I do not do road gigs anymore and will never do road gigs anymore. I have a wife that has MS, and my life is here now, taking care of her. So that's another thing people don't understand. While my wife is fine in health and spirits, she is on meds, and these meds changed in recent years, and there's always issues with med changes. I don't want to be on the road in some stupid, shitty room wondering if she is okay while I'm doing the music thing on the road. So about 2 years ago, I told the band I was with I was not doing any road gigs anymore because of that. If they didn't understand that, fuck them. If you're too stupid to understand what's important in someone's life, too bad. So that's a scoop. And people think, well, your wife's like, she's fine. She seems fine. Yes, she seems fine. But she still has MS. She's still on meds and will be the rest of her life. And you don't get better with MS. So research that. So I'm going to spend the time with her as much as possible. She's also a musician. She loves being around music. She's a big part of all the bands I've played in over the years. All band members know how important she was to helping out, either here at home where we rehearsed or doing gigs, because she did not sit around like most people and just let the band do their thing. No, she helped. MS or not, she wanted to help. She moved gear, she did sound, she did lights. She even played the drums for me. If I was fixing sound problems and stuff, she would play drums for the band. She is not a quitter either. So yes, my focus is to stay close to her in case something ever goes wrong. Do I miss playing live on the road? Of course I do. But I'm in my 60s, early 60s now, and my priorities are way different than they were when I was coming out of high school and into music. Life gives you these cards. You have to play them. If you ignore them, you're going to get bit in the ass and regret it. So I stopped the road gigs. So if it's a road gig where she can come along and her meds allow for that, sure. but it won't be a far gig. Like I'm good for, if it's a day thing, go to this job, come back. But these overnight shows with 500 miles of traveling, not happening. Never again. I will sit down here and make music that way. So that's a scoop. The other update, as I posted on Facebook, I got into exercising quite a bit there over the past year. I know I still look rounderful. But at the tail end of the band's sound check and out no country, I was not feeling 100%. And went to doctors and stuff like that. No issues. Age factor was part of it. And I decided to change my life in the sense of the exercise. Where I am a cyclist who cycles all year round, that was not enough. I didn't think I would need more than that, and I hadn't for a long time, years. I cycled 2 hours minimum a day, but it wasn't enough. In later years, your body needs more of certain types of exercises. So I basically invested in some more than I already had equipment for exercising, and got into that this last year, along with shoveling the living hell out of winter this past season. It was horrible. So I feel 110% right now. I love how I feel right now. Now I'm just going to work on thinning myself out more. But it has helped me focus even more on the music thing. And so even though I'm retired, I'm still trying to keep busy doing lots of stuff. So, and again, I'm sorry to those bands for not coming out to support them. But my life's focus is in a different spot. It's in a different place than it was 2 years ago. And I love being creative, and I like doing these videos, and I like making music. And while there's no big payoff I see right now on the horizon, at least I'm doing something that at least will show that I'm not dead, and I'm still plugging away at it, because I'm not giving up on music. But it has drastically kicked me in the ass and in the balls, whether it be band-wise or health-wise. So all is good. I've always got cars to work on, because I always own old cars, and they're always forever giving up the ghost. So yes, I had one issue I've now got to work on, and money-wise, it's not in the cards to take it in, so that means I have to work on it. I've been working on cars my whole life, but the cars nowadays are a pain in the ass to work on and take longer. And right now I can't dedicate the time to fixing this one vehicle, so we've got one of the older vehicles back on the road. So I have 3 I rotate through. But yeah, we got bit by the bug on this one vehicle, and it's been a great vehicle up until this part. And then when you research all these parts, you find out these car manufacturers do this shit on purpose, just to make life unbearable for you. And either the cost of the repairs, like the cost of a part that's $3.50, costs you $1,200 to get it out of the vehicle and fixed. So me being Mr. MacGyver, I have to find a way around $1,200 in repair to fix a $3.50 part, or change that part, to at least have this as a good vehicle for the future. And the problem is, these companies, they make those parts to fail. Because I done the research, this part fails on pretty much 95% of the vehicles this engine is put in. And while changing this little rubber gasket is the make or break of an engine, it shouldn't happen. That little rubber gasket should not be the lifesaver for your motor. It's just crazy, because I've never had any of my old cars go through this. Of course, gaskets and things were different then. They used like old cork and some other ones, and for some reason in this area of the engine they lasted. So these little other bushings or gaskets are prone to fail. Well done, Chevy GMC. You suck. And their bad designs and imperfections continue even worse today. I'm lucky I have a 2003, and there's some saving grace in there, where the motor is a well-respected motor. This little flaw in it is one of the few flaws on it that is, bites you in the ass. So that said, it's a four-wheel drive, not easy to get to this part, and so I'd have to dedicate quite a few days to it to do it, and that ain't happening right now. It's just easier to put one of my other vehicles on the road. They're all insured, but so that's what we're facing. That's life. I've had older vehicles all my life. That's just the way it is. So anyways, that's a scoop. I don't think there's anything else. So expect more Flat Stanley music. I'm sorry if it drives you nuts, but it is what it is. So 25 songs. I think I'm on number 8 or 9. Actually, I put an instrumental out. The instrumental was originally one that we had wanted to enter for the Hockey Night in Canada theme. True story. And it wouldn't have. I'm sure it wouldn't have worked. But now Hockey Night in Canada is no more anyway. So, but yes, we wrote this instrumental for the theme for the Hockey Night in Canada. We do some strange things down here. Peace.